Good morning, everybody. Heath Engle here for TGI Sports Talk Sunday, Stream of Consciousness. Hope you're all doing well. Want to wish everybody out there a happy Father's Day, whether you're a father yourself or celebrating your father, or if you're celebrating a dad that's not here anymore. Please do so. I know that's not easy. My dad's still here at 88 years old, and we'll see him this afternoon for a little cookout. But I know my wife and a lot of others have lost their dads, and if you've lost them recently or you lost them in the past, it's not always an easy day, but we wish you the best. And remember, they're always with you and they're watching over you. So happy Father's Day to all the dads and all the people with dads. And, you know, for those, and this came up in a conversation with somebody yesterday, it's not much of a day for them because their dad wasn't much of a dad. And I'm sorry, do better yourself, I guess. It's not an easy situation for people. I get it. In that case, celebrate the person who was the dad figure, the father figure in your life. So happy Father's Day to everybody out there, and I hope you have a great day, safe day celebrating your dads. And whether here or not here, still celebrate them. My father-in-law was a great guy, and I know his family misses him, and as do those who married into the family. So happy Father's Day to everybody. We welcome everybody watching today on TGI Sports Talks Facebook stream, our YouTube stream, our X or Twitter stream. We're live on Roku on the Northeast Streaming Sports Network, which is really national streaming sports now. And if we ever end the show within 2 hours, we'll start replaying it at midnight that same day. But we can't seem to do that. Quick shout out to Ralph Williams at RW Media. Check out Ralph's stuff, specifically the Sports Corner with Smoking Jim Frazier every Tuesday from 4 to 6 p.m. Eastern. Great stuff he does. Facebook, YouTube. He's got a local TV presence in Pittsburgh. I believe unless you're in the Pittsburgh area, you're probably not going to get that, but that could turn into more. So we congratulate Ralph for that. Ralph does some great stuff. And a quick thanks to DDH, thumbs up, by the way. He's a guy who, I have to say this about Dan Harris right now. And those who don't remember Dan Harris from Let's Talk Sports, he built that up, and he and our paths crossed 4 years ago. And Dan has since passed, sadly. He was just shut in for years and years and years. And I'll try to make this story as short as I can because it does make me a little verklempt now and then. But I went on his show one day, and then we struck up a friendship, and we started to collaborate a little bit. And I shared my shows to Let's Talk Sports, which I still do. And before Dan passed, he had sent me a letter in the mail saying that, you know, he had an awful upbringing, him and his siblings. They were all had physical disabilities that kept them housebound, and I think they all lived in the same house. I don't know where they are now that Dan's passed. I hope they're all okay. But they had a very bad childhood, and he had said to me in his letter that he looked at me as somebody that he wished he had for a dad. I've never had any kids. For somebody to say that to me was very moving, and I miss Dan every day. He was a good guy, and we wish him well in heaven today as well. Not a dad, but again, it was a very moving thing. So we'll get into a lot of stuff. I want to thank Paul Rosen. I don't want to get maudlin. It was something that crossed my mind as we were talking here. I want to thank my guest, Paul Rosen, from Friday. We had a great interview. Paul's a Olympic athlete, or para-athlete in general, if you will. He lost his left leg tragically. Was a hockey prodigy in Canada, and ended up playing Paralympic hockey, and winning a gold medal. The oldest rookie, I think, in the Olympic Games at 41, Paralympic Games at 41, and won at 46, maybe. And we talked about his life and what it was like and the things that he went through in his life. Self-induced in a lot of ways, but he had some traumatic things happen to him during his life. Read his book. Never Give Up, the Paul Rosen story, and you can catch it on Amazon. We had a great conversation. I enjoyed it a lot, as I do all my interviews. And this week, by the way, at Friday at 9 a.m., we'll have Jim Sundberg, former Texas Ranger phenom, came up at like 20 years old. I think Billy Martin brought him and Mike Hargrove up in 1974 out of A-ball. Maybe it's double A, but I think it was A-ball. And almost unseated the defending champion Oakland A's. They were in the middle of a three-peat dynasty, remember. Billy, one of Billy's best managing jobs. And he played with the Rangers for quite a while and then got traded to the Royals and won a World Series. Part of that 1985 World Series that we've had a bunch of people on. Greg Pryor, Buddy Biancalana, and now we'll have Jim Sundberg on Friday. And then the following Friday, Dennis Rasmussen, former Yankee prospect and pitched very well with the Yankees, won 18 games with them before he was traded to the Reds, where he had some success as well. And we'll talk to Dennis about all of that as well in a couple of weeks. And then we got to get back to the prospecting mode because it's time for guests. We don't have any. Let's get into a couple good mornings here, and we'll kind of prime you guys a little bit. What do you got here? You're late for shuffleboard tournament. Run a little long last night. Where's my applesauce, Scott? I know you took my applesauce last night. I was saving it. It's a running joke on Let's Talk Sports that Paul. Scott and I'm actually much older than Scott, so I don't know how he got roped into this, but we live in the same home together, share the internet connection, and and our roomies. It's a very funny. Good morning, Paul Spot out in Wisconsin, our Boston fan. We can talk some Celtics today if you want. A couple things I want to get into today too, as I'm getting through the good mornings, and I'll continue in a second. Again, it's your show. What say you, as it says in the tagline underneath. So a couple things just to prime you guys a little bit. Umpires gambling. Again, when is this going to end? I said when these players all got suspended, tip of the iceberg. Now we got umpires. We don't know all the particulars. I'm guessing it wasn't baseball betting based on the way this has been reported, but we'll find out. Trevor Bauer possibly coming back to the major leagues. There's some rumors about the Astros and some other teams. I wouldn't have Trevor Bauer on my team, but we can get into that if you'd like. Another top pitcher, Yamamoto, is probably going on the DL. Yes, I said DL. What's Major League Baseball going to do about this? And then we got Cole and Scherzer possibly back here in the next week or two. Football, we can talk about Hard Knocks. The Giants, they've got a third now. Hard Knocks off season, which I think is going to start like the July 2nd. And then you've got the training camp with the Bears, and I don't think they've announced the in season. Are you still excited about that? I am. Falcons found guilty of tampering, Lou, with fifth round draft pick. Why are we not penalizing everybody who tampers? Because we'll go through, if we get to this topic, about why everybody probably ought to be getting fined or stop finding anybody. Rodgers is a no-show to the Jets camp, not for the same reason as CeeDee Lamb or Kamara or even a couple of his teammates over financial reasons. He just didn't feel like going. So it tells you a little bit of what we need to know about him. Netflix has got a new show. Speaking of TV shows, called Receiver. Justin Jefferson will be part of that. I think Devontae Adams. So we can discuss that. Trevor Lawrence's new contract, $275 million over 5 years. What's that mean for the quarterback market? Whatever you think about Dak Prescott, he's getting $60 million from somebody. $200 million of that is guaranteed, by the way. Brady has his number 12 retired. The NBA, we can talk about. Well, Doncic got revived the other night, but they still trail 3-1 in this. Are the Celtics going to walk home with this? Barkley's retiring. Charles Barkley says after next year, when TNT and TBS are likely to lose the NBA contract that they have, he will retire. Hurley says no to the Lakers. NHL, the Oilers stave off elimination last night. And then in college football, the Big 12 thinking about selling their naming rights to Allstate, which is the number one contender for probably 9 figures, $1 billion. Also entering into an agreement potentially with a private equity firm for upwards of $1 billion as well. Congress is involved in the whole exemption for employees and stuff. So we got a lot of stuff we can dive into, and anything you guys want to talk about, we will do so. So let me catch up here. Dan was like a father to all of us on Let's Talk Sports Network. I personally miss him every day. Dan was, we all love you so much and watch you on my show on LTS Network. Dan was a great guy, and he made, I have to tell you, and then I told him, I got this letter that I mentioned where he was effusive in his praise for me, and I don't know why. I didn't do anything except show up on his show one time, and he said he was about ready to quit until he and I started chatting, and then he really made LTS something special, I think. So, and we're happy to provide a little content in a small way, not what Scott does. Scott and Tanner and Nick and Alan and those guys, more of those guys, Samuel Dean. There's a lot of guys, too many to mention. They do a great job of keeping that alive. And me, I'm just on the peripheral there. But Dan said a lot of nice things to me, and I don't know what I did to deserve them, quite frankly. Morning, Kenny Gifford up on the mountain. Good to have you with us. Kenny was away last week. I think Kenny might have been on the show, but I know he was traveling last week. On the light side, how did your get together with your buddy go? I forgot. I was supposed to mention right at the top of the show here. I got together with my buddy Rich Edwards. Who I don't know if you remember. Rick graduated with me, and I hadn't seen Rich in probably 30 years. And over a year ago, he reached out to me. He said, "Hey, I'm in Clifton Park. We have to get together." He saw I was still in 80 Screen Bushes before I moved. And we never got together. More my fault than anything, because things get in the way. And again, I'm not a big fan of people, and I do it. I'm guilty of this. I don't have time. We all have time, guys. Remember this in your life, whether it's your kids, your parents, your friends, whatever it is. When you say no, I don't have time, that is one of the biggest insults you can give somebody. I'm busy. I'm too busy. I don't have time. That is one of the biggest insults you can give anybody, because everybody on this planet makes time for things that are important to them. And I am guilty of it. I've been guilty of it, and I try to do better. Anyway, back to the topic. I was supposed to say I had a great time with Rich at Powers Pub. We had a couple too many beers. I told him what I'd said on the MLB update, that I was going out with a responsible human being for a change. But what I didn't factor in, that he wasn't. So we were there a little longer. We should have been. But he was worried his wife would think he was having an affair. And I was going to make it clear, Rich, and if your wife is listening, Rich was just with me. And it'd be pretty sad if there was something going on there. We had a great time catching up on old times, and we are definitely going to stay in touch and do some stuff, because he was one of my best buddies for, it's funny, in high school you go through little phases, right? I had a best buddy up until, like ninth grade, and then I started playing baseball, and he moved to, not far. He went from Perth to Bishop Scully because his family moved to Amsterdam out of Perth, and then Rich and I became buddies because I played second base, I played shortstop, and we became really close. And then after high school, is a case with a lot of people, although we stayed close to a lot of people in Perth because of the tightness and quaintness of the community at that time, especially. But we just drifted apart. He went into the service and all this other stuff. So it was great to get together. We had a great time, Rick. So thanks for remembering. Paul, yes, Greg Pryor is a wonderful guy. He was the very first interview I did on the one-on-one interview show, and he put me through the ringer trying to get him to come on. And he was a tremendous guy. I might get Greg back on again, because he was just a ball. If you ever want to go through the archives, it's hard to get to them because Facebook won't let you archives or categorize stuff, right? So I can't say, here's my interviews, here's the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and you can filter through them. I think you can maybe go to the page and there's a search button there. If you put in Greg Pryor, you might maybe get that interview. But I had a lot of fun with Greg. He was a riot. And him and Jim Sundberg, I know, are very tight. So we'll have a very interesting time there. As Drew said, again, I'll say, as I said at the top, happy Father's Day to everybody out there. All you fathers, all you people with fathers, both here and not here, celebrate the day. And just like Mother's Day, by the way, we should celebrate them every day. I'll have my dad over for a cookout here in a few hours. 1 o'clock we're going to have them over, and my mother-in-law will be coming up as well, and we'll have a nice day. LeBron cost the Lakers again. Listen, there was no chance. I said this on the show. I thought there was no chance Bobby Hurley would ever leave. And I don't think this was a LeBron thing. I think this was just, and I'm not, he could have played a part in, I don't know. I don't think there was any chance Danny Hurley was ever leaving UConn. Not in the situation he's in. And his wife told him this. There was an article in the Post just a couple of days ago where his wife was livid and said, why are you going to blow our lives up like this? And I said it wasn't about money. People kept saying, well, you can't turn the money down. You can't turn the money down. I don't know. I got to look what his new contract. I know he signed a new contract with Connecticut. But he could have got more money than the Lakers were offering him to go to Kentucky. He's got a great deal at UConn. He's got a great program. He's got a chance to do something that will put him in the top 5 coaches of all time if he repeats. I don't think that's disputable, by the way. And I think he's built for the college game. I do not think he's built for the pro game at all. And I think he made the right choice here. And I'm not willing to blame this one on LeBron. Bob Hilberg, good to have you with us. Speaking of the Patriots, great retirement party out there in Foxborough. They did a great job. And Tom Brady, by the way, showed what a classy individual. You guys can hate on Tom Brady all you want. I know you guys like to do it, a lot of you. Some of it's pushing my buttons, I know. But Tom Brady set the record clear for all you guys who think he was the only reason, just because of what's transpired. Tom Brady wasn't winning Super Bowls with this team that he left. He went to a Tampa Bay team that loaded up, and they won a Super Bowl. He made it clear, very clear, that he would never have been the player he became without Bill Belichick. And he made it clear that he would have liked to have played for no other coach than Bill Belichick. Now, after 20 years of playing for Bill Belichick, I understand why the tension rose and why he wanted to leave. I get it. But he made it clear that all of that success was not because of him, not because of Bill, but because of us. And tremendous statement and great class, again, showed by Tom Brady. So hate on him all you like, because we hate on people we shouldn't in this country. That's what we do. I said this about Derek Jeter. People don't like people who are successful for some reason. I have no idea why. I kind of wish I'd turned the oscillator off on my fan over there. But we do that. The people that we should be looking up to, we don't. And it's frustrating and gets me angry. Keith, you are appreciate that. But a big part of LTS, and we love watching your shows, and thank you for everything you do. I appreciate that, Scott. I know I don't get ingrained in the day-to-day stuff. I share content basically, and I appreciate those thoughts, though. Scott, you guys do a great job keeping things afloat over there. Tanner, especially, and great content. Scott, you provide, Alan and Nick and Tanner himself. Let's see what you got here. Okay, I have time, but I just don't want to waste on you. I forgot what I said. Well, that's kind of what you're saying, right? Anytime you say that to somebody. So I love this show. I was explaining this to Rich the other night. Why I love this show, because we go off everywhere. I've even stopped putting in what we're going to talk about because we never do. Because we go off on tangents, which is great. It's a Sunday stream of consciousness. We cover topics from sports to politics, slide in there a little bit. I don't like it too much, but I do like it. I don't like it to be here, but we get into it a little bit. But culture, society today. But basically, if you say that, right, if you tell me you don't have time, then you're telling me you don't have time for me. And I get that. Greg's got some great stories. He's got some great stories about his time with the Yankees in the Yankee farm system. I told him, and I think the way I got him on the show was I said, you're at least as good as Bucky Dent. And I said, but for a twist, actually, Pryor could have been in play to be the Yankees starting shortstop before they traded for Bucky just before the 77 season. And I kept telling him, I said, to me, it could have been, Greg effing Pryor and not Bucky effing Dent. So, Rick, nothing better than reconnecting with old friends and teammates. Kenny and I are a great example. Great point. When we all met for drinks, it's been 30 years. We got to do it, man. I just haven't had time. See what I mean? And again, don't take offense, as I do want to make time for you guys. And I'm going to set a date, maybe in July. Maybe in July we can make this happen. Maybe the Friday, and I don't know if any of you guys are traveling. You local guys can let me know. Maybe the Friday after 4th of July, the 5th, because I took the whole week. I'm off almost that whole week. After most of you guys are retired anyway, we could do it on Wednesday the 3rd. I don't know if anybody's traveling or not, but maybe we do it Wednesday. We can do it earlier in the day, a noontime, 1 o'clock thing, 2 o'clock thing, maybe 2 o'clock, because I may not do show. I don't think I'm going to do. I may do I'm not going to do a one-on-one show that day. I don't think. Too hard to try to get somebody in on a holiday weekend. So think about that, guys, and maybe we'll schedule it for that day. So hopefully we can do that. We haven't done it in a while. UConn, the next UCLA. Well, first of all, they're today's UCLA. There'll never be another UCLA like they had then. First of all, recruiting was different. He could get all the best players, John Wooden. And he did have guys, that, we're doing some things that they shouldn't. I'm trying to think of the guy's name now. I got it right on the tip of my tongue. He was a benefactor of the program and was responsible for a lot of guys like Lou Alcindor making their way to LA. And remember something else. The NCAA tournament was something totally different. When they won 7 in a row, 6, 7 in a row, whatever it was, 10 out of 12, they needed to get to the Final Four. They had to win 2 games. And it was all very regional then, right? They weren't trying to balance out brackets. So they had to beat Long Beach State and whatever, some other cupcake just to get to the Final Four. Now they had to play real teams a lot of times. But it was a much different landscape back when UCLA was doing it. To me, UConn winning 3 in a row might be more impressive than the 6 or 7 in a row that John Wooden won, taking nothing away from John Wooden. Greatest college basketball coach of all time. But if Hurley three-peats, you can put him in the same conversation with Wooden and Coach K. There's a name I could always say, and now I can't. Krzyzewski. But Coach K, Bob Knight, Dean Smith. He's probably better than Dean Smith at this point. Anyway. Suppose Yankees Red Sox rival taking place, but the division is clear to Yanks and O's at this point. Again, the Red Sox, and not to offend Paul, at the risk of offending Paul and Scott and other Patriot or Boston fans, and Bob, I guess, not Patriot fans, Boston fans. Because I had an argument. I'm not a Boston fan, and I had a friend of mine who said, "Yes, you are. You're a Patriot fan." I said, "They don't play in Boston. They play in Foxborough." He goes, "Well, that's Boston." I'm like, "Well, no, it's 20 miles away." And for you local people, you'll get this reference. I said, "Is Albany Amsterdam?" No. Well, then Foxborough was in Boston. So might be my rationale, but the rivalry didn't pick up any steam. Well, it was a rivalry in the 70s, but Yankees were winning all the time. Except for 75. Most of for decades, the joke and I will repeat it, it was a rivalry in the same way the rivalry between a hammer and a nail was. Now, which is a great line. That all changed in 2004, obviously. And the Red Sox have gotten the better of the Yankees many times, especially in big moments since then. So they're both great organizations. What can you say? Brady is the GOAT, without a doubt, Paul. People can argue all they want about Tom Brady. They hate Tom Brady because he's fake. He's this, he's that. Tom Brady, I don't get the impression I'm looking at A-Rod or listening to A-Rod when I listen to Tom Brady talk. Now, I wonder when he goes on, becomes the number one broadcast team on Fox this year, whether he's going to be candid enough in his analysis of players. Maybe he will be. I feel like it's going to go more to the Montana side. Joe Montana was a flop in this role. We'll see whether Brady can. But Brady he's the best quarterback of all time. I don't know how there's even a debate. How is there even a debate? It's not. Any more than Bill Belichick is the best coach of all time. You can bring up whatever you want, and I'll find a way to refute it. Now, did he do a good job after Brady left? No, he did not. People will say he never won without Brady. Well, Chuck Noll never won without Terry Bradshaw and that great defense and great wide receivers. And Bill Walsh never won without Joe Montana. Don Shula couldn't win with Dan Marino. Mariners and Brewers only team in their respective divisions over 500, playing well despite adversities. Mariners have just started to play well. I've talked a lot, and I was on with Alan Perales on his show last night. And I've said this a lot on the MLB update and here. The Mariners and the Rangers, if the Rangers can get back in this race, are going to rue the day. I still think they'll rue the day they did not put their foot on the Astros' neck and stomp them out when they got off to such a horrible start. They're still, what are they, 7? I haven't looked at the standings here yet this morning. Let's look real quick. I know they were 7.5 back on Friday. We're 9 back now. All right, well, things have changed a little bit. 7.5 for the Rangers, 9 for the Astros. But don't count them out. They can make the playoffs. And you'll see the Astros very active around the buggy friggin' bit. That's a joke, Paul. I'd tell Greg Pryor all the time. In my mind, it should have been Greg effing Pryor. Could have been. There's no greater gift you can give someone than your time, because it's the only thing that we can't replace or replenish. Great point, Drew. And again, we all make time for what's important to us. Red Sox, everyone is entitled to their own opinion. Is that a response to the hammer and nail? You can't deny that for decades this rivalry was not. Again, it was a rivalry like a rivalry between a hammer and a nail. But again, since 2004, the Red Sox have reversed that. Believe me, I have to tell you, 2004 is the worst, one of the worst memories ever. Blowing that, and Alan got into this, asking me, my most frustrating moments as maybe moments that turned my stomach as a fan. And this one didn't come up, but it's included on the list. Yankees blowing a 3-0 lead. So, again, the Red Sox did a good job of turning those tables the last couple of years. Yeah, Yanks can't buy them anymore. Yanks can buy them. They just don't buy the right ones. Yankees didn't get everybody, by the way. Who did? Here's the thing, and I love this argument, right? So 77, 78, they brought Reggie in here. They brought Goose in here in 78. Those were the big free agent signings. It's not like they were signing 10 guys. They brought in 2 big guys. And I would argue that Reggie's not the most important player on that team. He was in one game in 1977. He was Mr. October. He was very good. There were times he didn't come through. Thurman was the leader of that team. Nettles saved the 78 World Series in Game 3 basically by himself. Guidry wins 25 games in 78. Now, you tell me in the 90s, I love the way you lump this all in, Kenny, because it's not accurate. It's not accurate at all. That's people's perception, so that's your reality. But in the 90s, tell me the big free agents that they signed and brought in here that were responsible for them winning 4 out of 5 World Series. They made smart trades, trading Roberto Kelly, who I liked a lot, for Paul O'Neill. They built through the farm system. They won because of Jeter and Pettit and Rivera and Posada and Bernie Williams, all products of the farm system. So you tell me, I love these little, and again, nothing personal, Kenny, because this is a common misnomer. They didn't build that dynasty through buying players. When they started, anytime they did this, right? Anytime they got into the mode of buying lots of players, again, 77, 78, Reggie and Goose then in 78. And they brought some other guys in. Don Gullett got hurt, didn't help. And when George went into buying a bunch of, trying to buy a bunch of stars that couldn't play together or couldn't play in New York in the 80s, it didn't work. There's some horrible teams in the early 80s, and then they had teams that just couldn't get over the top because they didn't have any pitching. But they never won, other than bringing in Reggie, they never won bringing in major free agents. If I'm missing somebody in the 90s and early 2000s, you can tell me, because I can't come up with somebody who helped them. They may have signed a couple guys. They certainly didn't help them. So it's a common misnomer, though, Kenny, and one that's repeated often because it's easy to throw out there. Yankees bought all their championships. No, they didn't. Good morning, Dave. Oh, I missed that comment. Sorry, who is that? Is that Kenny too? Brady is a winner, but the greatest is very. Why is it debatable? Why is it debatable? The numbers are there. The Super Bowls are there. I don't know what we're judging people on. I mean, there are other great quarterbacks, right? Dan Marino is one of the greatest of all time. Fran Tarken's one of the greatest of all time. They didn't win anything. That's got to factor into the equation somewhere. Peyton Manning, is he the greatest? Won one Super Bowl. I'm sorry, he won 2 Super Bowls with 2 different teams, just like Tom. But overall, success, wins and losses, and Super Bowls. How about his teams playing head-to-head against Peyton Manning's teams? Again, it's always debatable because we're comparing eras. But how could you say a quarterback in an era where they didn't throw the football as much is better than Tom Brady? And I know Bart Starr is going to come up in your conversation. Bart Starr was a very good, capable quarterback. If he was playing today, he would not be because he didn't have the arm strength. His numbers were not gaudy. He's a great leader, which is important. We've talked about this a lot on my show. But he's no better a leader than Tom Brady. Yes, again, that's my and it's an opinion. It's an opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. And by the way, Bart Starr was a great leader at quarterback, but the game was totally different then. Bart Starr's throwing the ball 15 times a game. Yeah, I was going to mention this. I have no idea. I know what she's thinking. She's an ex-cheerleader, by the way, just to be clear. It's a little creepy. 72-year-old man dating a 24-year-old woman. I mean, at least Bob Kraft went through this phase. when he finally remarried, he married somebody more age appropriate. She's still 20 years. I think she's in her late 50s, maybe early 60s. I'm not sure. But she's a doctor. I don't know what Belichick's thinking here. Maybe he's going through a midlife crisis. And by the way, I was telling my wife this last night as we were chatting by the fire. I'm like, this doesn't enhance his chances of getting another job in my mind, because I got to put his judgment into to question. What are you doing dating a 24-year-old woman? I get it. Oh man, I can't imagine. I don't know what you got there, Dave. Just about. I think you left something out. Oh, there you go. I can see the rest of it. Hold on. Just about a month till NFL camps open. Well, NFL camps already opened in a sense. They had mandatory 2-day. They've had OTAs, and they had a mandatory OTA here a couple of days ago. A lot of prominent players didn't show up, which is the norm usually if they got financial situations. But Aaron Rodgers doesn't even tell the team he's not coming. Whereabouts are unknown. So again, there's leaders like Brady and Bart Starr. And there's guys who are just great quarterbacks like Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is a great quarterback. Is he a great leader? Is he a great winner? He's got lots of wins. There's just so many intangibles to becoming the GOAT. You can argue with me all you want. I'm not going to change my opinion. I'll give you the guy could be second, third, not Aaron Rodgers, by the way, somebody else. And we can have that. I'd love to have that debate. And NFL camps opening, Hard Knocks. I don't know if you guys are, HBO viewers. I am, for shows like Hard Knocks, and there's a few other things I watch on HBO. Bill Maher, believe it or not, is one of the things I never miss real time. Given my political leanings, that's been a hard watch sometimes over the years. But he always has a Republican voice on his shows. And Bill Maher, by the way, is really a moderate. He's not a progressive. Anyway, I'm not going to get into a lot of that, but his political views have gotten closer to mine than further away. So anyway, if y'all watch, I got this in, see, HBO and Hard Knocks has expanded into a third version now. The Giants, and I believe that'll start here July 2nd, maybe. Off season. I think they call it off-season Hard Knocks. I don't know, probably 4 episodes or something, because the Bears are the Hard Knocks training camp participant this year, and then they haven't picked an in-season Hard Knocks yet. I still like the show at times. I don't know about if anybody even watches it here. There's always something. I think last year the Aaron Rodgers stuff was so contrived. You turn on it was all, they didn't want to be there. The NFL made them do it. And they didn't want to be there. And I think they made sure that Aaron Rodgers came across in the best light that he could. But there's always some intrigue. You find some guys that you latch onto in these 4, 5, 6 episodes, whatever it is, that are fighting to be on the team. And that is, to me, an interesting story that comes out of these Hard Knocks training camp ones. There's actually a show, and I don't think they're doing it anymore on Prime, called All or Nothing, and you would follow teams in the season, which HBO started to do as well with Hard Knocks, given the success of All or Nothing. But I always thought All or Nothing was much better with some of this stuff. Good morning, Anthony Price. Good to have you with us. Philly needs to chill out. Almost hit our future. The Orioles Gunnar Henderson's head off. Listen, I don't know what led to that. So I would need some context, right? And again, I'm never in favor of trying to hurt somebody, but one thing lacking in baseball today, and again, not knowing the context of how this happened, Anthony, if they were just headhunting for no reason, um, then that's not cool. If there's a reason, because Gunnar was, showboating a home run or doing something to show up the pitcher, the team, I have no problem with guys on the field policing and taking care of business themselves. That's the way it's supposed to happen. It doesn't happen anymore because players don't expect to get hit. Kevin Mensch made a great point when I interviewed him that if he was hitting it behind somebody, hit a home run, and he showboated around the bases, he'd be pissed off because he knew he was going to take the brunt of that guy's actions. Now we don't have that fear anymore. Then when guys get hit, they get offended, and pitchers are afraid to pitch inside, probably because they can't control. They don't have they don't have the command of the strike zone the way that other pitchers have throughout history. Gibson and Drysdale would hit you when they'd hit you exactly where they wanted to hit you. Anyway, I got to know some more context. If they were just headhunting, then I'm not in favor of that necessarily. Stephen Vaught doing an excellent job maintaining Tito's legacy. I brought this up to Alan last night. We got talking about this on his show. I guessed it on Alan's show. If you want to check it out on Let's Talk Sports. Last night, 7:00. I almost forgot. I just happened to check my phone 1 minute to 7. And I did it from my phone, so I'm a little blurry because I was sitting in the sun outside and it was too nice. I wasn't coming down to the studio at that point. But we talked about the Guardians, the team formerly known as the Indians, and the fact that they're doing this with Stephen Vaught and they're buying into whatever message he's delivering. And I don't want to take anything away from Terry Francona. He's a great manager. Games in Boston. He won 2 World Series when they hadn't won any in 8 decades, whatever it was. He was 9 decades at that point. And he did a great job in Cleveland for the most part. But I wondered if his lingering injury issues weren't a bit of a distraction, right? He missed a lot of time. I thought he might walk away 2 years ago. And he didn't until this past season. He missed a lot of time in his time within the Indians, especially the last bunch of years, with health issues. And I wondered if that, again, distraction is the only word I can use. And I know Terry wasn't trying to create a distraction. I wonder if that has in some way helped this team. And Stephen Vaught and some stability there has probably bought in. And Stephen Vaught, remember, was playing 2 years ago. Never managed a game anywhere at any level. And he's done a very, very good job, as Drew says. There's JB. AP, this is Anthony. Do you think the throw at Gunnar was intentional? He had a screamer right back at the pitcher. Well, that's a good way for the batter, by the way, to get some retaliation as well. Again, that's what I was mentioning, JB. I don't know the context, and hopefully Alan can share a little more. From what I know of Gunnar Henderson, I don't think he's a guy who was out there showing anybody up. And again, I'm not saying, I'm in favor of every time somebody hits a home run, we're going to go after him next time. It depends on what the circumstances were. If they're showboating and you're showing somebody up, then I'm going to take a shot at you. That's the way the game used to be played. There had to be a healthy respect shown. If that respect wasn't shown, then I was going to send a message. Well, not me. David's tired of being told the Yankees bought their championships. The Yankees know how to make money, so they can spend the money. I agree, Dave, 100%. Especially when some of the other teams that are getting revenue share. So 2 things are at play here. First of all, I'll repeat my comment that I don't believe the Yankees bought any championships. Even in 78, look at the guys who contributed outside of Reggie and Goose. And in 77, Goose wasn't even there. Guidry, Munson, Roy White. those key guys all come through the franchise, the system. Nettles, Chambliss, Bucky Dent, all acquired through trades. So again, tell me where that comes in. And in the 90s, the core of the team was homegrown, and they made a smart trade for Paul O'Neill. Come on, just please got to stop. And if you just want to equate it to money, well, then how about all the money they have paid out over the years of the luxury tax to teams in small markets who put the money in their pocket and do nothing to make their team better? I feel no sorrow for those teams. But it's still overblown. Good morning, Steve Orpello up in Perth, New York. Good to have you with us. Beautiful day out there today, man, guys. I sat outside, had some coffee. Between getting ready to do the Mac and Jack show this morning and this show, had a cup of coffee. It was nice, cool air. It was beautiful, quiet. Sat outside for the longest time by the fire. It got cold last night, but it was nice. Braves take another hit with Harris injured. The Braves, talked about the obvious, how, injuries are starting to derail their season. And I said on Friday that I think it's a given that Braves would make the playoffs, regardless of the fact that what are they behind now? I think they were behind 9 games on Friday. They've actually made up a game since then. They've won 3 in a row. No matter how much money you spend, injuries even the playing field for all players. Everybody has injuries. Yankees have the best. God, Yankees have the best record in baseball and one of the best pitchers in baseball. I would argue in the top 5, maybe the best pitcher in the American League. Hasn't thrown a ball in anger all year. Half their bullpen's hurt. Yet I got to listen to Ranger fans and Braves fans and complain about injuries. Injuries are part of the game. And if you don't plan for injuries, you fail. And that is a great equalizer for sure. And look, injuries are a mess, and making a mess of Major League Baseball is a rule. Too many stars out. Another Yamamoto, as I mentioned earlier, going on the DL most likely after an injury, I think yesterday. But position players like Harris getting hurt, and by the way, another strike for me because I'm out of DL spots. I sent a message to Yahoo, by the way, Drew, that I was no longer going to participate. Don't take this the wrong way. I'm never longer participate in any of their stuff if they don't rename the IL to DL. I'm kidding, but I'm not kidding. I sent that message. I'm tired. I watched somebody rail on somebody, not me, but somebody else for using the disabled list term, that it was offensive to people that were disabled. And I almost lost my shit. Sorry for my language. It's unbelievable to me that this is the world I have to find a way to function in. Everything I say offends somebody, and I don't care. I told my wife this last night. I don't go out of my way intentionally to offend people, especially people I care about. I don't. But if I say, I shouldn't have to think about everything that comes out of my mouth and worry about it. Now, are there things you shouldn't say? Yes. I'm not talking about, things that would be insightful. Not insightful. What's the word I'm looking for? Incendiary, whatever. I'm not looking to rabble rouse. I'm not going to go around using the N-word. I'm not going to go around using, terms that are derogatory like that. And don't try and tell me it's the same thing, because it's not. But I got to think about whatever I say. I can't say disabled. I can't say Cleveland Indians. I can't say Washington Redskins. so tired of this. Ugh. Guilty conscience white people have, and they got to take up causes for people that haven't asked them to take it up. Kenny Gifford found his wife a few miles from Mar-a-Lago. I don't know if that's true or not. Not going to debate you. I haven't done much research on her other than to know that she's a doctor and is much more appropriate for Kraft than some of the other women he dated in the last several years since his wife had passed away, sadly. And certainly much more age appropriate than what Bill Belichick is doing. So, and again, I don't care. What does that really matter that he found her for a few miles? Why is that relevant that he found her a few miles from Mar-a-Lago? There's a lot of people, really good people living around Mar-a-Lago. Now, we may not like the main resident of Mar-a-Lago. I don't like the main resident of Mar-a-Lago. Stop giving me the choices you're giving me. That's all I got to say on that topic. Orioles staff takes another hit with Bradish, but they seem to plug another guy in. And I do think they'll make I don't know if it'll be a Burns-like trade. And I don't know that they're going to give up any of their top prospects. And JB or Anthony, you can weigh in on this. I don't think you're going to trade a Jackson Holiday, for instance. And don't judge him by his start, please. Willie Mays had as bad a start as Jackson Holiday had. I'm not trying to compare them, by the way, other than the fact that they had bad starts. I don't think it's going to be that type of prospect. And I'm trying to think of the pitchers that would be possibly available. And I think the position player pool, Drew, is deeper than the pitching. Let me take a look and see who. And by the way, there's going to be a lot of buyers because there's so many injuries. You ever talk about position players like Guerrero and guys like this? There's going to be a ton of people in play. I want to find pitchers. Pitchers likely to be moved at trade deadline. Let's see what we get here. Do you like the way I spell out my words as I'm typing? Oh my God. That's got to be old. That's got to be old. Lance Lynn, Kyle Gibson. I mean, again, is there a Burns? There's not a Burns level guy available that I'm really familiar with. Drew, help me out if I'm missing somebody. This is old too. This is from February 14. This one's from, it's New York Times. I probably can't read it because I won't pay them. We'll see. I haven't read an article there in a while. Crochet's a good example. But is he at a Burns level, Crochet? I know he's having a great year. Maybe Fetty will get traded. But again, I don't see that. There's some quality pitchers. I don't think there's guys on Burns level. And maybe I'm mistaken, but I think that's probably what they'll probably have to do. I think some of their injured pitchers may have a chance to come back, starting pitchers anyway. So it's a good team. As good as the Yankees have played, they have really, since the Yankees really took off, I mean, the Orioles consistently stay a couple games behind them. I don't think it's moved at all. 2.5. That's what I've been seeing for a month. Orioles stay right with them. The really good baseball team. Again, here's the thing. There's two things at play here. So Lawrence is getting $255 million extension over 5 years, $55 million a year. $200 million of it is guaranteed. That's a big number, by the way. You can blame Deshaun Watson and the Browns for really causing this issue. But this is what happens. And if you don't have an option, Where are you going to go? You've got to have a quarterback. You've got to have a top quarterback. And I'm not saying he's in the top 5, but he's better than half the league. And where are you going to go get a quarterback if you don't overpay the way the market is today? That's the market for quarterbacks. Overrated or not. Dak Prescott's going to get $60 million a year. Maybe not with the Cowboys, because the Cowboys now have a very tough decision to make. There's no way Dak Prescott is getting paid less than Trevor Lawrence. He's not. It may not be with the Cowboys, but it'll be somewhere else. And, there's only so many quality quarterbacks. If they, let's just say for argument's sake, Anthony or whoever wants to comment, they decided they wanted to not pay Trevor Lawrence. And Trevor Lawrence, by the way, is still a young guy, and I still think will have a chance at a Hall of Fame type career. Depends on who he plays with. Had a really good year 2 years ago. 28-4, maybe 28 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Won a playoff game, lost a playoff game. Or did they win that game? What was it? No, they won that game. They came back against the Chargers 2 years ago. But again, if you can't just say, if you've got a decent quarterback and you can't tell me you can tell me he's overrated because of the way he's paid. And by the way, I'll always be of the opinion, if somebody's willing to pay you, you deserve the money. Now, maybe he's overrated. Maybe he won't earn that money. But if somebody's willing to pay you, don't tell me you don't deserve it. Somebody's willing to pay you. Not me. Somebody offered me that money. I'm not going to say, I don't think I'm worth that. I don't think I've ever done that. Trying to think of one conversation I had during a review where I was offered more money or offered more money to take on more responsibility or change my job description. I don't think I've ever said, no. I'm taking the money happily. So, again, things are going to get tough for teams like the Cowboys who've got to sign Dak Prescott. I'm sure, again, I don't have a list of people off the top of my head, but there are going to be other quarterbacks that come up in this position. Every quarterback in the NFL is probably overpaid because the market was set by Deshaun Watson and the Browns. And now the position is considered so important, so much more important than running backs. You're going to see wide receivers. So, wide receivers now. It's a status thing, especially with wide receivers. I got to be the highest paid guy. CeeDee Lamb's going to get his money. Now that Jefferson is signed, he's going to want his money. Tyreek Hill set the market there. Okay, something more show appropriate. MCWS is having some great games to start off. What are we talking about? College World Series. I'm not sure what the MC is. I have some information in front of me somewhere. Here we go, right here. College World Series. Is that what we're talking about? I think that's what you're talking about, Kenny, and I'll get there now. Great game yesterday between Kentucky and North Carolina State, 10-inning game, walk-off home run to win that game. They move into the final 8. North Carolina has moved on against Virginia. Tennessee has moved on against Florida State. Florida State, I really thought – I like Tennessee coming in here, by the way. I thought Florida State would give them a tough time. This was a tough 12-11 game. Not a lot of pitching there. But I think I picked Tennessee to win this when we got the teams announced, the 16 teams announced that we're going to Omaha. I have to look back at my college sports huddle show, but I think that's where I went. Kentucky, as I said, moved on against North Carolina State. Texas A&M moved on over Florida. And we still have North Carolina State has gone into the loser bracket. Now they're going to play Florida for a chance at one of these last spots. And also Virginia and Florida State will play in this loser bracket for a chance to get into one of those last spots. I think those games are both today. No, NC State's tomorrow. Today is Virginia and Florida State. I'll have that game on along with the U.S. Open. By the way, Branson DeChambeau is taking a 3-stroke lead, I believe, at the U.S. Open. Shot a really good round, 3 under. It's a good course. It's a tough course. Rory's in second place. Tiger didn't make the cut. Patrick Cantley's up there. I know Tony Finau is up there, and some names that may not be hugely recognizable, but they're recognizable to guys like myself and probably Kenny. I think it's going to be an exciting Sunday final at the U.S. Open. If you're not a golf fan, I apologize, but Father's Day typically is U.S. Open final round every year. That I don't think it's ever been a year that I can remember that it didn't fall on Father's Day. And there's been times I missed my dad on Father's Day and had to celebrate before or after, because when I was younger and we were in our 30s, we traveled anytime it was in the East. We went to the U.S. Open. We saw it in Brookline. We saw it at the other championship course in the Boston area. We saw it in Shinnecock out on Long Island. Drew, I'm sure you're familiar with Shinnecock. Coldest, I got to tell you, weirdest week I ever spent was the U.S. Open week in Shinnecock, because it was freezing. The wind was blowing. Everybody's dressed like it was winter on Thursday and Friday and Saturday. And then Sunday, after being in the 40s and 50s, or 40s with the wind chill probably, for 3 days, it was 95 degrees on Sunday. A lot of fun. Oak Hill and Rochester, and still a few other places. So we probably went to 10 U.S. Opens in 20 years, and we did miss some Father's Day, which I guess I regret a little bit. But I always made sure my dad knew we were thinking about him. Had a lot of fun. I got a lot of fun. You can't, if you're a golfer, and Kenny knows this, or if you're not a golfer and you just watch. You watch these guys on TV, and you cannot get a good appreciation, any appreciation of how good they are. When you watch them play up close, you realize how much better they are than you are. I've seen them make shots that I wouldn't even think about. Just look at some of the shots on TV where they're hitting, with people all alongside them. I'd have killed 10 people by now. So again, I think you're talking about the baseball there, Kenny. So that will move them into the. I think it's still double elimination to get to the final 4. I believe. Because then you'll still have a winners and a losers bracket, and then when you get to the final, they're playing 2 out of 3. See, make sure I got that right. Yeah. So you're right. MCW World Series. My bad. So what is that? Oh, just Men's College World Series. Good grief. I'm sorry. It's staring me right in the face, Kenny. Oh my God. Anyway, it's an exciting time. They're great baseball. You're a baseball fan. If you're not watching the College World Series, you're missing better baseball than is being played at the major league level a lot of times. Maybe not the pitching every game. You get a 12 to 11 game, but you get that in the majors too. You're missing some really good college baseball if you're not watching. I find the Rickwood Field games more meaningful than the Field of Dreams version. Meaningful? I don't even, for whatever reason, Drew, I'm a little, what is, where are they playing? Is this, this is going to be, So the renovations are nearly. This is new, and is this to honor the Negro Leagues? That's what I'm seeing here. San Francisco Giants game in Alabama will be a tribute to Willie Mays and Negro Leagues. Rick Field. Okay, I get that. I'm okay with that. I mean, I still like the Field of Dreams game, and to me, they're silly for not having. And the White Sox are terrible, but given the movie content, not to have the White Sox there every year is kind of silly. But that's a movie, right? And as far as meaningful, giving tribute to the Negro League players and who Willie Mays was. Again, we all know about Jackie Robinson, but tons of guys who played in the major leagues were playing in the Negro Leagues and great players before they ever got a chance to play in the majors, including Willie Mays and Henry Aaron. And a lot of them didn't get to play, and I don't want to open up that whole can of worms. I don't think they ought to be intermixing those stats. Sorry. Too many of them are not even verifiable. But this game is an important game and a meaningful game, to use Drew's words. So when is this game coming up, by the way? I don't have. There's supposed to be 50 plus Negro League veterans, by the way, expected to be in attendance for this occasion. That would be kind of pretty cool. So Giants and the Cardinals will wear throwback uniforms to honor living legends. By the way, I'm okay with this. I'm okay with throwback uniforms of any sort. Certainly, if you're playing a game like this, to honor the Negro Leagues and guys like Cool Papa Bell and Josh Gibson, I'm kind of cool with that. I'd rather see that. You talk about meaningful, Drew. I'd rather see that than the City Connect freaking uniforms that make you look like a clown. When is this game? I can't really tell. That's funny. I see in breaking news as I looked at that Klay Thompson has unfouled the Golden State Warriors. He may be finding his way out of there. June 20th. So coming up this week. What's that, Wednesday? When is that? Is that Wednesday? My calendar. Thursday. Thursday night, 7:15 on Fox. So check that out. I agree with Drew. Great. Well, you know what? I agree. It's a little hard to hit the ball right back at the pitcher, but I'll bet you Ted Williams and Tony Gwynn could probably do it half the time if they were trying. But I agree. There's other ways to do it too. Very famous way Lenny Randle did it. Anthony, you're a guy I don't know that I've ever asked your age bracket. I'm not trying to pin you down, and you can tell me how old you are. I'd love to know. But there's a very famous, you'd have to be a certain age to maybe remember. There's this video out there on YouTube. But Lenny Randle took exception to some things one time that a pitcher was doing, and Lenny bunted down the first baseline, and when the pitcher fielded the ball, he just frickin' leveled him. So there's ways to get your point across. Kenny takes pride in being disabled. I get to park closer. The cops don't stop you, and so many gifts from the states and feds. Well, there you go. So if we took away the term, whatever. And Kenny has different ways that he treats his needs. Well, not wearing shoes on the golf course seems to help his issues as well. Can Canadian call hockey their game? That's a great question. I mean, I talked to Paul Rosen about that, and he did make a great point. And I've talked to Jim Behringer about this as well. And I talked to Paul Rosen Friday in our 101. And he was, as I said, he's from Ontario. He grew up around the Toronto area and was a hockey prodigy when he had a serious leg injury when he was a kid. led to his leg being amputated when he was 39 years old. And all of this, his dreams being destroyed and whatnot, caused his life to take some difficult turns. But we talked about, and he still follows hockey very closely. He's coaching hockey in Australia now, actually. And we talked about the game, and I talked about the Canadian game and why they hadn't won in 32 years, 31 or 2 years. And he made a great point. There's 30 plus teams. There's 7 in Canada. The odds are stacked against them, right? From that regard. A few teams have had a chance recently. And some of those teams are very poorly run, like the Canadians. You got good teams like the Maple Leafs who can't get out of the first round. I really thought Edmonton was going to give Florida a run here, and they didn't. So it's still the Canadians' game. Look, we lose in the Baseball World Series. I'm sorry, World Baseball Classic. U.S. doesn't dominate and win that, or is it not still the American pastime? It is to me. Excuse me. Even though football's surpassed it in popularity, it's still America's pastime to me. Without those great, and this is the way I look at it, you have to look deeper than just, superficial numbers like TV contracts and viewership and that we have today. I say this many times. Without baseball in the early 1900s and then Babe Ruth to save baseball after the Black Sox scandal and whatnot, these sports today, these guys wouldn't be getting paid all this money. There wouldn't be TV contracts the way that they were. Baseball was the first sport to bring sport into the public consciousness and call for more of it. And Babe Ruth saved the sport. So I've said forever that every athlete today should say a little prayer to Babe Ruth, if they even know who the hell he is, every night when they go to bed. So yes, it's still Canada's game. Baseball's still the U.S.'s game, in my mind. And again, I guess you can look at it. What do the Yanks have to do to sign Soto long term? It's going to be a 10-year deal, most likely. Steve, they can't pay him what they pay Judge, so they can't pay him $60 million a year, nor should they. And if he makes it to free agency, then he very well may not be a Yankee long term. Because once you hit free agency, anything can happen. And the Yankees are going to be limited in what they can pay him by the fact that, and Judge is a better ball player. I'm sorry. I mean, Soto's been getting great kudos for what he's done this year, and he's done very well. He's hit the ball very well, and that's what they got him for. He's a tremendous, tremendous hitter. It's another guy that I don't think his baseball instincts are all that great. He's not a great fielder. He's not a great base runner. Doesn't always hustle. But I like the kid. I mean, again, that doesn't make him any worse than 70% of the players that are out there. And they're a different team when he's in the lineup. And if they don't sign him, they're going to have to make significant changes to this team because they can't win with just Judge being the guy. I'd argue Judge is having a better year than Soto, but you're not paying Soto more than Judge, or even as much as Judge. You can't. So it's going to take 10 years, and I mean, if he's going to settle for 10 years and $500 million, which I would. But if there's a status and he wants to be the highest paid player in baseball, he's not playing for the Yankees. And even playing for the Yankees, there is luxury tax, and the Yankees have wanted to, for a few years now, they've done an admirable job, if you want to look at it, of trying to lower payroll so they could get down around the luxury tax. And there was talk they wanted to be below it. Well, there's no way you're going to have a team with what you got to pay Judge and Soto and then Cole. And then you're going to have other guys. If Luis Gil continues, you're going to have to pay him at some point. I mean, how many guys can you pay and put a competitive team on the field around them and stay anywhere near the salary cap? You can't. And they're the Yankees. I don't really care about the salary cap. You can afford to pay a luxury tax. So I think they should stay. Purdy, Love, good point with Love especially. Dak's going to get sick. I know Dak's coming up right away. He might be the first guy. Love will be coming off his rookie contract probably next year, so that'll be an issue. Purdy might be in the same boat as Love. It's a big year for Brock Purdy. I mean, I still have my doubts about Brock Purdy. I mean, he's won a lot of games. He wins a lot of games with his legs. I have a little doubt about his arm strength, and I see a lot of floaters, man. And he got better as the year went on, and I thought it could be early in the year his arm still wasn't completely in game shape. But Purdy, and again, I'm not knocking him. He's been very successful. I just have my doubts long term, and whether I'm going to give him, $50 or $60 million a year. But the market's been set. These guys are all getting over $50 million. You don't like them. Obviously, guys don't like Dak. He's going to get his money, whether you like it or not, because the market's set. And the Cowboys, if they don't want to pay Dak, and there are some signals that Jerry Jones gives off that makes me wonder if he doesn't want to pay him. But this is the market for quarterbacks. And if you want to have a chance, you need a quarterback. We know this. There's certain guys I wouldn't give the money to. I'd go find a kid, but the market's set. And how are they going to get the market down? Question came up this morning on the Big Football Show with Mac and Jack and James Harris this morning. And Pags came in after, but how do you rein this in? How do you rein the salaries in now that you've opened up you let the genie out of the bottle? You can't. Because anytime in any sport where salaries have gotten out of control, baseball's tried this several times. And every time they do it, they get charged with collusion and have to pay damages. It's happened twice in Major League Baseball. So once you open up Pandora's box, it's over. 2 Wake Forest players have joined the Mohawks. Larry's highly impressed with one. Good. We'll get Larry on. We'll get Larry on soon. I was thinking about having Larry on the one-on-one show, actually. We talked about his career, but I'd like to talk to him about baseball and the way the game's played and the pitchers' injuries, and we can talk about these guys and on Wake Forest playing with. In fact, I'm going to reach out to Larry and try to get him on one of the Friday morning shows. Be a little different because we're not going to go into his career, except for how it might relate with the game today. We've already had that conversation with Larry, and it was another guy with a very enlightening story and overcame his demons. Jeff Mancini, welcome to the show. Men's College World Series. How are you, buddy? As we just talked about, great baseball being played up there. I watched a lot of that Kentucky game yesterday. I didn't see the end, unfortunately. I was trying to watch, and I had to get 2 TVs outside so I could watch both, which I didn't get done in time. So I was trying to watch the golf, and I was trying to watch the baseball. And then I was trying to watch some other stuff, Yankees. And I was all over the place. But if you're not watching the College World Series, you're missing some good baseball. And in a lot of cases, it's better than when I'm watching on the major league level. Guys actually care. It's fun to watch guys run to first base sometimes, at least. And so I agree. Jeff, welcome to the show. I don't know that. And Jeff, maybe you've tuned in before, and I'm happy if you have. This is your first time with us. I appreciate you popping in. Another Perth grad. God, Rick, how many do we have now? we dominate this show. We dominate. Sorry, guys. The best questions come from the Perth guys, and the worst questions come there as well. But but again, we're battling against a Perth education, so it's a little hard for us sometimes to keep up with the rest of you. I say that facetiously. Anyway, Jeff, I'm glad you joined us. I'm glad you chimed in. I did talk about the college, and maybe it was because, again, it takes me a little while to get to the comments. Rich Edwards was talking about how I get to him quickly, and I'm like, I feel like I'm not, because I get there and I don't know what the hell we're talking about half the time. As Kenny puts up a one-word answer for something that happened 5-10 minutes ago. I'm picking on Kenny a lot today. I apologize, Kenny. But welcome, Jeff. Glad to have you with us. And you're right. Great baseball. I just talked about the matchups, and we still got a ways to go. When is the final? I'm going to stick with Tennessee as my winner, by the way. I picked that on the College Sports Huddle 2 weeks ago. I picked Tennessee to win it all as they were heading towards to Omaha. I really don't have any reason to change that. At the bottom bracket, I'm going to go to how about this? I'm going to pick NC State to get there from the loser's side of this bracket. They got to beat Florida tomorrow. The game's at 1 p.m. on Eastern, 1 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. There's got to be another team coming out of there. How does that work? Let's see. So, yeah, I got to believe there's two more teams. I'm not really. It's sometimes it's hard to read the bracket in the College World Series. So I'm going to pick NC State to come out of the losers bracket and get to the final against Tennessee and lose. How about that? The other game today that's an elimination game is Florida State and Virginia, and I'll take Florida State in that game. I like Florida State here. There's Chris F. Grave up, our Toronto correspondent, if you will. Congratulations on the Canadian team, Edmonton, staying alive last night. Happy birthday Sunday to Dewan Brazelton. Keys, he started early. He's only 44. Who the heck is he? Why is that name not ringing a bell with me? Chris catches me all the time, makes me look stuff up. Let me look him up. Dewan. That's good. Well, as long as I can put in your first name. Baseball player. I should have known that. Was he a White Sox? Oh, Rays. Let's check out Dewan's numbers. Played all his games with the Rays, and then his last year with the Padres. He was a pitcher. Pitched mostly out of the bullpen, it would appear. Where are his, even the baseball reference is starting to tick me off with all the freaking nonsensical freaking stuff they put in front of me as I try to figure out where's his ERA. There it is. Not great shakes, but happy birthday, Dewan. Sure you enjoyed your career, and listen, you don't have to play long and make some money and set yourself up for life. Anthony's 36. Why was I bringing that up about references? Oh, the Lenny Randall reference, right? It's a great way to take care of a pitcher. If you're a hitter, yes, I agree. It's hard to hit the ball straight up the middle and whiz one by his ear. But just lay down a drag bunt and take the guy out on the first baseline like Lenny Randall did 50 years ago. Nick Bodkins from the Bodkins Show. Great stuff. I mentioned earlier in the show as I was talking about Happy Father's Day and talking about Dan Harris and talking with Scott Cote and I mentioned Nick and Tanner and all the guys over there who do a great job. Happy Father's Day to you. Nick, he says he hopes the nursing home does something for you. I don't know how this all started, and I feel bad for Scott because when this joke started that Scott and I were living in the same nursing home, and sharing internet. I joke about him stealing my Jell-O and my applesauce. Last night it was the applesauce, Nick. I don't know how it all started, but I get it. I'm, going to be 64 here shortly. But Scott, I think, is like 10 years younger than me. I don't know why the poor guy's been lumped in with an old bastard like me. But thanks, Nick. Happy Father's Day to you. I know you got a bunch. And if you haven't watched Nick's show, watch it. Nick is a unique presenter, very smart. He knows the sports and a lot of them, and including wrestling. I think you do some wrestling stuff. But Nick also has this cold water dunk he does for himself that I would have died of a heart attack long ago. I don't know if you're still doing that on a daily basis, but I've watched some of the videos of Nick doing this, and my heart almost stopped watching him. So, Drew's got 3 pitchers still below 2.0 ERA. Lopez, Ranger Suarez, who has pitched very well, did miss a start with some injury issues, but I think he's back and healthy. I'm not going to say the Japan guy. They have Japanese guy for the Cubs. 1.89, 3 below 2.0. Heel. Sorry, Burns and Ralph Houck. It's not Ralph Houck. I apologize. This is why making preseason predictions about Cy Young and award winners and stuff. But it's also because they all get hurt. And the way they're trained to pitch today, again, these things just set me up. Not you, Drew. That when we get on these topics, I mean, pitchers and predicting pitchers' seasons is so hard because they don't train like pitchers pitched years ago. I guarantee you, Drew, if we did a baseball preview show in the 70s, we could say Seaver and Carlton, Jenkins, and whoever else would be up there in the number of wins and ERA and strikeouts, and be pretty safe that it would happen year in and year out. Yeah, somebody would throw in Seaver was 11-10 or 11-11 one year. Even then, his ERA and his strikeouts were great, and he had some arm issues and whatnot. But today, between the injuries and just telling guys to go out there, first of all, you don't train to pitch a lot of innings. And then you tell pitchers to just go out and throw as hard as you can for as long as you can. We don't train right. We have to worry about pitch clocks, which rush pitchers. And again, there's a lot of, and these low ERAs, you keep putting in rules that hurt hitters. Well, I know. I guess the one rule, and I keep saying that since 1968, every major rule change has really benefited the hitters. And I'm sure there's exceptions we can make, including eliminating the shift, which is stupid, by the way, because we don't want to teach hitters how to hit right. We'd rather adjust the rules and stop telling me, oh, the pitchers are too good to adjust and hit the ball the other way and hit the ball in the holes. That's crap. It's crap. It's in my mind, lazy thinking that guys and lazy attitude on the players' part, not to adjust their game to meet whatever's I'm going to face. You don't think Tony? You put a shift on Tony Gwynn, he hit 400. He hit 450. Just infuriates me. Taming of the Tiger. Tiger Woods looks to play in the British Open. Here's the thing. What's he say? Just one more event, and I'll come back whenever I come back. Here's the thing. Tiger can't play and compete in majors if that's all he's going to play. If Tiger played more, Tiger, I think, still would be a candidate to win these tournaments. He'd be in position more often than he is now. Most of the time now, he's battling just to make the cut. The Masters win 3 years ago, however long ago, well, maybe it's 4 years ago now. No, they didn't play in 2020. It was probably 3 years ago. Maybe it's for COVID. I don't even remember. Time and I have a very bad relationship, remember. But out of nowhere, he came back, Tiger did, and won the Masters. But most since then, Tiger's usually battling just to make the cut. You can't play, 5 other tournaments in the majors and expect to compete to win. He's not going to have a chance in the British Open in a few weeks. He just won't. Yeah, that's not true. Listen, I love Derek Jeter. But again, Derek Jeter was obviously a key player, great player, one of my favorite players. I'm not going to sit here and bash Derek Jeter, but Derek Jeter alone could not have carried that team. What saved the Yankees, and not baseball. Baseball wasn't teetering. Cal Ripken saved baseball after the strike of 94. Or 95, excuse me. I think, 95. No, 94. 94. He saved baseball, breaking Lou Gehrig's all-time games played in a row streak, consecutive game streak. I try to get more words in where I can. That was number one. That's what saved baseball. And the Yankees were bad, and what saved them was George Steinbrenner getting suspended and Stick Michael and Buck Showalter being able to run the show and keep the kids in the organization that George had been trading away for years. He kept Andy and Bernie and Posada and Jeter. Not that they ever saved Jeter or traded Jeter, but those guys were what saved the Yankees. Buck Showalter and Stick Michael, and then the guys that they showed faith in. In fact, that team got better before Jeter ever even put on a uniform for them. In 1994, Buck Showalter had that team up like 10 games when the strike hit. He would have been probably going to the World Series, maybe playing the Expos, making the World Series for the first time. It would have been a great, great thing for baseball. But we had a strike. So the Yankees were back before Jeter ever stepped on. In 95, Jeter was just a bystander basically late in the season as the Yankees made the playoffs with a wild card. They weren't quite as good. Got beat by the Mariners in a tremendous series. I'll never forget Junior running around the bases that night. Oh, my God. Think about that question Alan asked me, and I've got all kinds of bad memories in sports. But listen, Derek Jeter's a great player. Derek Jeter did not have the impact on the Yankees or the game of baseball that Babe Ruth had. Nobody did. Babe Ruth had an impact on all of sports. Sports were in serious trouble in the 20s, coming out of the White Sox scandal in 1919, throwing a World Series. And I'll go to my grave saying Babe Ruth single-handedly saved sports and baseball specifically in this country. That's why he's the most important figure in sports history. I said that if you remember years ago, it's got to be 20 years ago now, maybe, when ESPN did the Sports Century top 100 athletes. And Babe wasn't number one. I think he was third. But he's got to be number one. I mean, Michael Jordan, Muhammad Ali, I think might have finished ahead of him. I don't remember the exact rankings, but I feel like that was the case. Those guys there would have been no Muhammad Ali without Babe Ruth. There just wouldn't have been. You got to go back and and really look at what was happening in the sports world at that time. And a lot of it was bad, and gamblers were ruining it. And we're seeing a reinvention of that now. And Babe Ruth really, really impacted all of that. 3 best teams in the ERA. Drew's on the ERA today. Yankees 2.94 without Garrett Cole throwing a single pitch. O's at 3 point, and that tells you something. Pitching, defense, timely hitting still wins games. Yanks have to do that. Other 2 things, well, they do the second thing. Timely hitting, situational hitting wins games. And part of me still thinks JB and Anthony's Orioles are more equipped to do that than the Yankees. We'll see. We'll see. By the way, 3-4 hitters. We talked about righty-lefty hitters, combos. We talked about it last week. Guys hitting, back-to-back in the lineup. Like these 2 guys are having. It's Mantle and Maris and McCovey and Mays. And we talked about a lot of these guys. Aaron and Matthews. Great. They're putting themselves up in the same higher echelon as these guys. These are great names that ever played the game. These teams cannot $60 million at most, never get all of it. I'm confused, Kenny. These teams can't pay $60 million, and who never gets all of it? The players. Well, they get a pretty good portion of it. For instance, Trevor Lawrence's extension for $275 million, $200 million of it is guaranteed. That's a lot of money. Oh, I see. Why can't they pay $60 million? Why? They can. They're paying 55 now. There's how many quarterbacks are getting over $50 million a year? There's at least 3. Yearly. Salaries for quarter. I'm going to say there's at least 5 guys getting $50 million a year now. For QBs. I know that, Rodgers deferred some of his money, so I don't know. Crap. I got to know yearly. Or don't give me the whole freaking thing. There we go. Joe Burrow, $55 million. Want 6 more rows. Here we go. There's 6 guys, I'll bet you. Joe Burrow, $55 million. Trevor Lawrence, $55 million. Jared Goff, $53 million. Herbert, $52 million. Jackson, $52 million. Jalen Hurts, $51 million. Patrick Mahomes, way underpaid. Here's another guy who's going to get paid. You're going to have guys making $15 million a year more than the best quarterback in football? And don't tell me he's not, because he is. He's won 3 Super Bowls. Kirk Cousins, 45. Deshaun Watson started his ball rolling. He's only at 46, but that's only because all these other guys ahead of him have signed since. And the guys I think Anthony mentioned earlier are all going to get paid at least this much or more. They can afford this. You know what the bottom line is for these teams? The TV money that's coming in alone. Teams like the Cowboys with what they're making in wearables, it's astronomical. Astronomical. Oh my gosh. I'm just saying, whatever. Time for some irony. We like irony. Leading teams of batting average are the Astros and the Padres on the mediocre 259, and they are winning. What's the overall batting average now, Drew? We talked about this a couple weeks ago. I thought it was in the 230s. I think you might have told me it's 240 something. I don't know. I had 238 in my head. I don't know whether that's accurate or not, but there's a lot of bad baseball. That's why I talk about the College World Series. It's a lot of fun. It's a lot of, yeah, they sped up the game with the pitch clock, yeah, but I'm just getting to watch bad baseball in a shorter period of time. Takes 2 hours and 15 minutes instead of 3 hours and 15 minutes. Why mediocre when hitting 300 is a benchmark for a good hitter? Because, again, it's not just the average. How about the guys who are all hitting 228? Who's me? Maybe I'm missing mediocre. What's mediocre? Baseball? I'm not sure. I guess I'm missing the context here, Kenny. I mean, there are guys who still hit 300 and well over 300. But again, Drew just pointed out the two leading batting averages team-wise is 259. It's terrible. And I'll bet you the overall average is closer to the 238 mark that I just said. And the on-base percentage is horrendous. Horrendous. So I guess I need a little bit more clarity to what we're talking. I mean, I'm not sure what I called mediocre. Help me out. Because the average used to be around 270 at this time of the year, not so long ago, Kenny. Maybe Drew's answering you. But we'll do that because we want hitters to hit 300. We want hitters to hit 350. They want them to hit 50 home runs. That's why we looked the other way in the late 90s when Sosa and McGuire were hitting, home runs after home runs every day and chasing Maris's record and both breaking it. And McGuire hitting 70 home runs, and all the while he's getting interviewed, and there's creatine sitting right in his locker. And Bud Selig looked the other way because he thought we needed these ratings. Baseball was struggling. You reap what you sow. Pick all you want. I'm stoned. Oh, Kenny, you are my hero. I swear to God. We might need to play golf next week, Kenny. I got to call Brett. Brett Kluche, by the way, in my interview with Paul Rosen, came up. Well, he hasn't answered me yet. I messed. Well, maybe there's his. Oh no, maybe that's his answer. Hold on. I still haven't gotten a response from him. Oh, it's Drew. I don't know. Brett dropped off the face of the earth here. I mean. So anyway, it's funny. Many don't chime in, but I like to see this because I don't see. And thank you for pointing this out, Rick, because I can't always see if they don't comment. And sometimes I've noticed, too, if you comment on my Facebook, this was happening to Danny. If they're watching on my site, and I should probably go to it. In fact, I'm going to do that right now. Let me go to my page. I should be live there. Might screw up this. I don't know what's going on here. How come I can't get to... Well, maybe I got to do this. Sometimes guys comment there, and I can't see. Yeah, Danny Fuller's there doing it again. Damn, Danny. Probably thinks I'm... So here's the weird thing. So Danny, just to give up some of the comments that are over here on the Facebook side, and I do thank Tim and Dave, Tim Ott, Dave Traver, Johnny Doviak, all great Perth people as well. I appreciate you guys signing in and watching the show. And even if you don't comment, there's Danny. Now Danny's just came up. Maybe I just hadn't got to it yet. All right. Because Friday, Danny was commenting on the Paul Rosen during the Paul Rosen interview, and I just wasn't seeing the comments, so I don't know. And I can't. Boy, that's pretty screwy. I don't know. Well, I probably shouldn't have started this video, that's for sure. So I'm going to get out of here. Gosh. Anyway, and again, you don't have to chime in. You can just watch and listen to me rant and rave and mispronounce words, do bad math because of my Perth education. I was joking with Rich Edwards about this on Friday when we got together, and it is a joke, guys. Don't take it seriously. I wouldn't trade my Perth education for anything in the world. I loved going to a tiny school that doesn't even exist anymore. We had great teachers, and any lack of education I got in high school was because of me and nothing else. There's Danny Fuller. I don't know why Danny's commenting on. It looks like on the on my personal page, which I wasn't seeing them Friday morning. So I do apologize again, Danny, for that. I certainly would never, and I tell everybody, it's happened a few times. If I'm missing and not putting your comment up, shoot me a. I try to keep open my personal page on Facebook just so that I can see if any messenger personal messages come in so that I can, address the lack of comments, because I don't ever want anybody to think I'm ignoring their comments. It happened a couple times here, and I know Danny was very kind about it Friday, but I certainly don't want to ignore people for sure. But he says happy Father's Day. Happy Father's Day to you as well, Danny, out there in California. Let's see, is Keith Engle giving his Stankies any props today? I think listen, I'm in the same place. I don't know if you're watching a minute ago. We talked about them signing Soto, and Soto's been a very integral part of their success here with the bat. I know what I was getting. They know what they're getting. They're getting a guy who can hit the ball like come out of a whatever. You can come out of a hibernation chamber, hit line drives. He's not a great baseball player. He's not a great fielder. He's not a great base runner. He's not a great doesn't have the best baseball instincts. Not like Aaron Judge. This team is playing great baseball. They're, got the best record in baseball. All I do is point out, I watch my teams with very open eyes. You're never going to see me go on a preseason show and say Yankees are going 161-1. The Patriots are going 18-0. Well, 17-0. I just won't do that. I want my teams to do well. Anytime I am negative about my teams, I want to be wrong. But I see things that concern me. I see Glaber sticking it up at second base most nights. Talking about bad baseball instincts. Yankees need to improve at second base. They probably got to improve at first base. You can't continue and get to the postseason and have 4 guys in the lineup that struggle just to get on base 25% of the time. So, am I giving my team props? Yeah. They got the best record in baseball without Garrett Cole pitching one inning, one pitch in anger. And they're going to get him back, and they'll get some guys back in the bullpen, and they'll probably make some moves for a first baseman. Don't let it be Pete Alonso, please. But I give the Yankees props, but I also keep my eyes open for issues that could crop up down the road. I've seen too many times. Remember something. In the Aaron Boone era, take last year out, 82-80, didn't make the playoffs, but they won 100 games. They've won mid to high 90s. They've won the division. They've been the top wild card, and they've not got to a World Series because they stopped hitting elite pitching. And I've seen it before with teams as good as this one, maybe teams as better than this one, and they just stop hitting. They don't hit home runs, they don't score. So I point that out. That's all. Yeah, as long as they hit home runs, they're going to win games. They're going to win 100 games. All I care about is what happens in the postseason will be a little bit different than what I've watched recently. Give me a World Series appearance, will you? I haven't been to a World Series again in 15 years. 15 years. This is the Yankees. It's not the Royals. One World Series win in 20 plus years. 25 years almost. Almost. 24? That's not acceptable here. Why should it be? Royals have won more. Giants have won more. Small market teams have won more World Series than the Yankees. The Marlins have won more. Let's get our stuff together and put a team together that will compete in the postseason. Now, maybe this is the Yankee team that will do it, and I want it to be. But I will always go into these things with my eyes wide open. I go on the Yankee sites and groups, and I'm honest, and people get mad at me. We don't need your negativism here. I'm not being negative. I'm pointing out potential pitfalls down the road. Pratfalls probably work as well. Sorry, my green screen's blowing around a little bit when you see that at the bottom. I didn't turn the oscillator off on my fan. But anyway, happy Father's Day to you too, Danny. Judge impressed me when he hit a home run. He laid his bat down. Right? Thank you, Kenny. I don't think I've ever seen Judge toss a bat. I mean, I'm sure he's done a little more something demonstrative. He runs, too. Because, if you hit the ball 500 feet, then you probably, no, you don't need to run. But how many guys you see turn, doubles into singles and triples into doubles or even outs at second base because they didn't run? Easiest thing to do. You don't need any talent. Say this all the time. A little bit of coordination to run to first base. F Tiger, he's done he's done talk about the good players today. They deserve the respect. Listen, I'm not sure specifically what you're referring to there, Danny, with Tiger and dissing any of the players today. If he has, he's dissed guys about the live stuff and jumping there for a payday. And I'm okay with that. Listen, I'm not the biggest Tiger Woods fan in the world. A lot of Tigers, the hate for Tigers come from the way the TV networks treat him. Even when he's not relevant, they will follow him hole by hole by hole. And who cares that Tiger Woods is 5 over par? And correct me if I'm wrong, Danny, but the only guys he's really bashed on today's tour are guys that have jumped to go to live. And take Phil Mickelson, for instance. I love Phil. Phil's my favorite golfer. I lost all my respect for Phil when he went to live and just took the money and put it in his pocket. There's basically appearance money. You get paid just to show up. And it's not just that. It's the fact that the money's blood money. And the PGA shouldn't get in bed. And I don't know what's going on with that merger that was announced a year ago. And I hope it doesn't happen because I don't want the PGA players having tournaments funded by Saudi money. You can call me crazy. I have a long memory. And that's all I know about Tiger calling out good players today. If there's something else, and with all due respect, Danny, let me know, because the only thing I'm really aware of is the live stuff. And by the way, Rory McIlroy's been just as outspoken or more outspoken about that than Tiger. If they're good hitters, then a slight hesitation in the swing and guess what ball's coming goes the opposite way. Who knew? Well, right? I get so tired of people, and it's not a lot of people, but there's enough people that have told me, oh, the pitchers are too good today. The pitchers are too good today. That's why you can't have shifts and you can't do this. And And hitters can't adjust because the ball's coming in too fast. What? How hard did Nolan Ryan throw the ball? How hard did Bob Feller throw the ball? How hard did Gibson throw the ball? And while they were great pitchers and had great numbers, there were still hitters that could find a hole. The whole job as a hitter is hit the ball where people aren't. Well, now they do that, try to do that, but it's all over the fence. Come on. It's the way the hitters are trained. That's why they can't do it. That's why they're not good enough to do it, most of them. Because all we care about is launch angle and exit velocity as we're training these guys in the minor leagues. And before. You keep teaching launch angle and exit velocity, and you're going to continue to have teams averaging 230. Paula says I'm full of shit. Well, she's not the first person to say that. They know Jeter better than any other player during that period. What? Who does? Oh, who's they? Listen, Derek Jeter was a huge part of that Yankee success, but he wasn't the only thing. Paul O'Neill, Bernie Williams, Posada, Mo Rivera. Listen, Mo Rivera is probably the MVP of those Yankee World Series teams. That takes nothing away from Jeter. I love Jeter. A man crush on Jeter for decades. You know, I thought about when Jeter retired, and this was, what year is that? 16-ish? Let's just say 2015. I can't remember. Might have been 2014. Anyway, I thought I'm 54 years old. When the next Derek Jeter retires, I'll be 75. And I'm like, that's how can that be? Well, now I'm almost there. It's 10 years away. Looks like we're going long again. Richmond Hill's own Milos Raonic fires 25 aces to beat Batista Agat at La Bima Open. See, you helped me out here, Drew. You helped me out with baseball names, but when we get into hockey and tennis, I'm guessing we're talking about here. I'm lost. Some sweet copy and paste right there. I've told Chris to go bring me obscure facts to the Sunday Stream of Consciousness, and he has taken it to new heights. Danny's comments repeated. Usually that means stars. I've found out if that's the case. Thank you, Danny. You're the man. $3.54 billion in team revenue. Who are we talking about? Yankees? Or in general? Football? Most of these teams, especially in the NFL, can afford to play these players whatever they want to pay them. There's so much money to go around. What's this bullshit? The quarterback wins the Super Bowl. Isn't it something like 60 players not included on the practice squad? Not including the practice squad? 53, I think, now. So yes, you're close. Yeah, I mean, look at it. It takes a great roster to win a Super Bowl, but you don't win. How many Super Bowls have been won by guys who weren't really good quarterbacks? I talked about drafting quarterbacks was a bad idea high because none of them, most of them, I think it was like 90% of them, 92% of them never win a Super Bowl. That's in the last 50 plus years. But you rarely win a Super Bowl with a journeyman type quarterback. How many win? I'll give you Trent Dilfer. I'll give you Brad Johnson. Maybe even Mark Ripien. But I mean, most of them, it's Montana, it's Young, it's Namath, who overrated or not. Staubach, Greasy. Brady and Manning and Mahomes. I mean, in 60 Super Bowls, 50 plus, almost 50, high 50 Super Bowls. I mean, how many nondescript quarterbacks have actually won? Do I have time to do this? Do I have time to do this? Super Bowl winning QBs. See what we got. Doc Sports. Crap. It looks like a gambling site. Can't go in there. Here we go. Wikipedia. Bart Starr, Hall of Famer. Joe Namath, Hall of Famer. Len Dawson, Hall of Famer. Johnny Unitas, Hall of Famer. Roger Staubach, Bob Greasy, Terry Bradshaw, Ken Stabler, Bradshaw. Jim Plunkett, maybe I can give you. Montana Theismann. I'm not going to count Theismann. He had a good career. Plunkett again. Only one guy. Jim McMahon, I'll give you that one, but that was a great defense. Doug Williams, I'll give you that one. Jeff Hostetler, I'll give you that one. Mark Ripien, I'll give you that one. Aikman, Hall of Famer. Young, Hall of Famer. Favre, Hall of Famer. Elway, Hall of Famer. Warner, Hall of Famer. Dilfer, there's 5, 6. And Brad Johnson. Then you got Brady and Roethlisberger and Peyton and Manning. Breeze, Rodgers, Manning, Flacco, I'll give you. There's 6. Russell Wilson's going to be a Hall of Famer as much as I don't like him now. He was a great player at one point. Nick Foles, 7. Matthew Stafford's going to be a Hall of Famer. Like 7 quarterbacks in 60, almost 60 years, 58 years. If my math is correct. Great quarterbacks win Super Bowls. 7 times in almost 60 tries, somebody who was a journeyman won. 241, it is up a little bit. Look at that, man. That's amazing. Ugh. Chris F. Graves sent me this site, so I moved over. Oh, I see. Did you copy and paste your comments, or were they coming up this time? Go and like, and Chris has, by the way, Chris, you're still not following TGI Sports Talk. I know I sent you the invite. Go to the page and hit the follow button. Danny, go to the page and hit the follow button. Maybe you have. And you should get notified when the show's starting. And it's okay if you're watching on my personal page, because usually those comments come through. So I don't know what happened. And I did see them. And maybe you pasted them again the second time. I don't know. I would love to know that, actually, because I want to find out why they're not coming over, if that's the case. Got to leave early. Hope it's early. It's late. We're 5 minutes late. Hope you guys all have a great happy Father's Day to you, Drew. Thanks for being worth my time. Oh, thank you again. I think Drew's making a little joke there. Except you beating me in fantasy this week. I got to remember to check my lineup. Still beat me. Sundays, I think about doing my lineup during the show, and then I get done and I get doing other things and I forget. But happy Father's Day to you, Drew, and all the other fathers out there as well. You enjoy. We'll see you soon. Blue Jays versus the team formerly known as the Guardians. Good series. No team can outslug the other, so they have to play real baseball. Cleveland has been doing that all year. And one of the reasons they're one of the surprises of the season. They know how to play some small ball and score runs without home runs. They got one of the most underrated leaders, as well as good player, in the game, in Jose Ramirez. I've said for years I would kill to have Jose Ramirez playing third base for the Yankees. And the Yankees have a history of bringing over third basemen from the Indians, by the way. One Greg Nettles. I want Greg Nettles on the show. I don't know how he's doing health-wise or whatnot. He's getting up there in age, but there's a fan page I belong to, but I don't have any way to reach out to him. And Chris, if any of your contacts, Danny, if any of your contacts, because he's out in the California area. I think he's in San Diego. He's a San Diego native. I want Greg Nettles badly. Still haven't heard anything from Todd Marinovich either, Danny. And I really would love to get Todd on the show, even if we got to record the interview, because I know it's going to be a little tough to do 6 hours time difference for him. 3 a.m. might be a little much to ask for. If the Yanks don't win for the next 15 years, it would be awesome. Well, Kenny, we know what your opinion is there, and that's why you make the comments you make about them. If they don't buy, they can't buy players. They didn't win because they were buying players. Let's just be clear. I noticed you didn't respond to that comment. We know who you hate. We hate the Cowboys. We hate the Yankees. So it's fair. And by the way, that's what's great. And that's why sports are better with teams like the Yankees and teams like the Cowboys, because people love to hate them as much as they love to love them. Polarizing teams make sports go, right? For players. Well, if they're polarizing for the right reasons. You know, Tom Brady is a polarizing player because he's the greatest player of all time, and he let heirs out of football. So you can't be a greatest player of all time and murder people like Ray Lewis. People don't care. But if you let the air out of a football, you know, then you become a polarizing player, and, you know, we shouldn't, you know, rip you to shreds. JB's always positive. You have been. You've been. I did read this. Oh God! I was talking about you being honest with your team, and you are, by the way. And JB did call me out a few weeks ago, and I was probably getting a little too harsh on my team. So I softened my stance a little bit. Playing great baseball, and this was just before they moved into having the best record in baseball. But JB was right. I was probably getting a little too critical, and I've gotten that way over the last couple of years because of all the failures I've seen late in the season. But JB is an Oriole fan who I think goes into his team's games wide open, with his eyes wide open, and knows that there are things that need to happen for the success to continue or even grow. Gunnar Henderson, full sprint to first base after hitting it back to the pitcher. You know, anybody who just runs to first base, I'm a fan of. Mark Teixeira, I'll tell you this story. I probably told it before. This is probably, I don't know, 15, might have been 15 years ago. I'm not sure. Mark Teixeira in his first year, might have been his first year with the Yankees. They were playing the Mets. And he was on first base. And it was a tie game, I believe, or maybe this tied the game. I don't remember that specifically, but it was the ninth inning. And there was a pop fly, and Luis Castillo was going back to get it. And he dropped it. And Mark Teixeira was busting it all the way from first base and scored the winning or the tying run, whichever it was at the time. I didn't care. I don't care now. He busted it from first to home. Nobody does it. Well, nobody. 75% of the league would not have scored on that play because they don't run hard. They're just assuming it's an out. So any time somebody actually hustles, I'm excited. And it's the easiest thing to do in any sport is to hustle. You don't need any talent to hustle. Live and let live. Hello, everyone. Happy Father's Day. Same to you, Matt. Good to have you with us today. We're getting ready to wrap it up here soon, but glad to have you with us again, Matt. Doug Williams, I did count in my journeyman. So, again, 7 out of 58 or whatever. You know, other than that, you've got basically Hall of Fame quarterbacks winning the Super Bowls. So you're not wrong, Kenny. They can't win. They can't take, the Carolina Panthers as they stand today to the Super Bowl. I agree. They've got to be surrounded by great players. But I'll remind you that Tom Brady won a Super Bowl with David Patton, David Givens, and Troy Brown, who Troy Brown was a great player, not a Hall of Fame player, Patriot Hall of Famer, great player in his own right, special teams player, even played some defense. He won Super Bowls with these guys as his wide receivers. So please understand where I'm coming from. Going to the lab in Mayfield for breakfast? What's that? Where is it? I don't know that place. I'd love to know where it is when I get up that way again. Danny, we know we most of you hate the Pats and Belichick, and that's okay. Again, I think hate's a good thing. I think any sport needs teams that people love and hate. People get the misnomer. I got to wrap it up here soon, but there's this misnomer about the Cowboys and America's team, and that they named themselves America's team. Now they embraced it, but no, NFL films turned them into America's team, not the Cowboys. I mean, and they were America's team not because all of America loved them, but all of America had an opinion about the Cowboys. And that's why they were America's team. You loved them or you hated them. In a lot of ways, the Patriots in those 20 years became America's team because of the same kind of thing. You hated them or loved them. And all these teams, they get bandwagon jumpers, and I hate that. I never jump off my team. Patriots have been horrible now. It's two of the last 3 years. Or 3 of the last 4 years. And I'm never jumping off my team. The Yankees have had some horrible teams in my lifetime. I'm true to my team. I will be critical of my teams. You will never see me jump ship. I was going to Patriot games, season ticket holder, watching the 1 in 15 teams. I think there should be a TV station that gives every one of us that dies there 2 seconds. What are you going to do in 2 seconds? Kenny, what time did we get started today, Kenny? I love that. Hate is a strong word. Dislike is much better unless it's the Yankees. Well, do you? I love it. It's awesome. Kenny Gether, I'd rather have Paula's home cooking. I think we have to do the show, Rick. What do you think? We do a live remote from Kenny's house, and Paula cooks us a great breakfast, and I'll do the show live and in front of a live audience, have you guys all join in. Oh, my God. Oh, Danny, happy Father's Day, buddy. Even Keith Engle's stankies can never live up to his standards. Listen, Danny, don't go away yet. Maybe you already have. I realize my standards are high, and as Yankee fans, we expect more. And I'm sorry that's when you win 27 world championships, that's what happens. You expect more. You don't expect to go 14, 15 years without making a World Series. I'd say some things about the Dodgers, but I don't want to sound like Mark Mancini here. By the way, I have his home address if you'd like to. No, I don't have his home address, and I wouldn't give it to you anyway. But Mark lives in a city that he hates everything that happens there. I'm not sure why Mark is in L.A. I wish I knew. Oh, boy, Matt, I love it. Haters keep on hating. I feel the same way about all my teams. I'd rather go, and I told my buddy Mark this when the Patriots first started getting good, there were no things. He and I were the only people rooting for them when we go out and watch games. Then as they won a championship, and they won 2 out of 3, and the bandwagon jumpers came out of the woodwork, and I'd rather go to a place where everybody's rooting against me than rooting for me. I don't know if that makes any sense. I love it. He's the other way around. He'd rather go to a Patriots bar and have everybody, which is fun. I don't not want to be around Patriot fans, but if they don't know who Steve Grogan is, then they're not a Patriot fan. Just saying, TY, but there isn't enough internet. TY, but there isn't enough internet. What is that? Danny, perfect. You got a new fan, Danny and Kenny. They would change the World Series to another name and start over. They should change the NFL, the World Series to another name and start over like the NFL. Too many champions not mentioned before the Super Bowl era. Packers are one of them. No, I agree 100%. And I don't do that, actually. I didn't go back when we were talking about quarterbacks. I only went back in the Super Bowl era because that's what we were talking about. But I agree 100%. The Packers are one of the biggest dynasties in football history, up there with the Patriots, I'm sorry, and the Steelers in the 70s and 49ers in the 80s, and maybe even eclipse those, at least two of those teams. Those were, they don't go away, those champions, those Packers who won a bunch of NFL championships before the Super Bowl. That team, that's the funny part about that. Those teams were on the downside of their dynasties when they won 2 Super Bowls in the first 2 in 66 and 67, if you will. Well, 66 and 67 seasons. I think the games were in 68 and 67 and 68. But you're right. Too many people forget that. And if that stars again, Danny, I thank you. I said I'll put a little thank you for you on the site. So, guys, we're going to wrap it up this morning. Great show again. You guys just make it so easy. I love it. I want to thank all you guys. I can't name you all by names because we have so many people commenting now. Danny, Chris, Kenny, Rick, Matt, Drew, Anthony. No, I'm forgetting some people, and I'm so sorry. Jeff Mancini for the first time, I think, tonight. Kenny mentioned, and you guys that aren't commenting but still watching, we appreciate that. Tim Ott, Dave Traver. Who else did he mention that day? Donnie Doviak. Love you guys for tuning in. We have a lot of fun. I don't care how much of the show you watch. I have a blast. So thank you. Have a great Father's Day. And I'll see you Wednesday, I think, with the College Football Huddle. At least one more before we go on hiatus. And we'll be on Friday morning with one-on-one with Keith Engle. Jim Sundberg, former Texas Ranger and Royal catcher, will be my guest. And then we'll be back with the MLB update on Friday. And also next week, the Sunday Stream of Consciousness. Happy Father's Day, guys. Have a great day.